Hi everyone, welcome back. This is MLOps Zoomcamp Module 6, and in this lesson we will talk about code quality tools, and specifically we will talk about linting and formatting. So previously we already covered coding quality, but from the reliability point of view. So we made sure that the code is good, covered with tests, and reliable, that it's doing what we expect it to do. And now we want to talk about the aesthetical aspects of code. So it should look, beautiful, and it should also follow best practices. And I want to start with discussing PEP 8, which is a style guide for Python. So PEP is a set of proposals that were accepted in the Python community that tell you how you should go about doing things in Python. And this PEP 8 is a style guide, so how the code should look like. And there are you should go through this code. It's quite useful. It tells you how to best write code. And there are things that are called linters that check that the code kind of follows this convention. And one of such linters is called Pylint. Pylint is not just to check that our code follows a style guide, this PEP 8. It also checks, it looks for common mistakes, perhaps global variables if we have them, and other things that might harm our code, and we better get rid of them. So we will use Pylint here for linting. Yeah, you see here, so Pylint is a static code analysis tool for the Python programming language. And this is what all linters do. So they analyze your code and they tell you what you should fix in this code. So we will use Pylint in our project. It's not the only linter in Python, so you can actually check Pylint or Python linters, and yeah, there are many of them. Pyflakes, quite a few of them. So there is no specific reason why I chose Pylint. Where is the list? Yeah, there is no specific reason I used Pylint, just something I used before. That's why like any of them would do. Okay, so let me open my terminal. Okay, what do we have here? Yeah, so here I want to install Pylint, so I'll do pip-env install. It's a dev dependency, so we only run it on our computers, on our machines when we develop things, so we don't need this in production. And I just do pip-env install Pylint. So now it will install Pylint. And if I now do pip-env shell, let me make it shorter. Yeah, so now I can just do pylint dot, meaning current directory. So I want to look at all the files that I have. And yeah, okay, I think I need to say, I need to specify the files, the Python files that I actually want to check. So let's say for model, so it says, so there is trailing whitespace. So basically it has a bunch of rules that says there should be no trailing whitespaces, and if it sees a trailing whitespace, then it complains. For example, there is no documentation for the module, or things like this. And by the way, and instead of running this like this for each individual file, I think we can do something like recursive y and dot, and then it will apply. It says no such option. So yeah, I think the reason for this is I have an old version of Pylint. So the version I have here is 2.9, and the docs I see right now are for 2.15. So what I'll do is I'll do pip-env install Pylint. I'll quickly check GitHub for releases. GitHub Pylint. So in the releases, yeah, this one 2.14.4 is the latest one, so I'll install it. It should be, wait, it should be a dev dependency, right? So, and yeah, let me make sure that it didn't add this to file. Right, yeah, I installed pylist, not pylint. That's why that there was an error. And I think Pylint that I was using previously was coming from my base environment. Yeah, I guess that's why there was an error. Anyways, now we can try checking this if it works. Which Pylint So yeah, now it's Pylint from the virtual environment, and yeah, it works. So we can actually run this for all the code, and you see the things that it found. There are quite a lot of things like similar code, missing function or meta dot string, didn't like some of the names, and so on. So these are useful suggestions, maybe not all of them. Some of them are useful, some of them we should think whether it makes sense for us or not. But we see that it's not super convenient to look at this in this form, right? It would be much better if we could see these things from our Visual Studio Code. And actually it's possible. So we can look for, I pressed Ctrl+Shift+P, and then here I run select linter, and then actually all the possible linters. So I'll go with Pylint, and now I can run linting. And I think now if I open this thing, yeah, you see now it underlines, so it says there are problems with this. And for example, we can see that the problem here it highlights is missing function docstring. So it means that every function should have a docstring saying like create a kine this client. Yeah, and then you see this is gone. But let's say if we think that we don't really need docstrings, it's usually a good practice to have them. But for example, we can also choose to suppress this warning, to say that, hey, I'm not interested in this warning. And we can do this by configuring Pylint. Actually, if we go to Pylint here, there is a section, configuration. Yeah, so these are all the parameters. This is not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a way to configure it. So I'll just quickly look it up. Pylint config. Yeah, this one. This is not exactly what I am looking for, but you see that we can actually create a file that is called like pylintrc file. And here we can have this section with message control. And here we can say disable, and then we can list things we want to disable. So for example, we want to ignore this warning. So I'll copy it, and then I can paste it here. And then this warning, this kind of warning, will be disabled. So you see, it doesn't complain about this anymore, but it complains about trailing whitespace. This is something we will remove later with a formatter that will format our code and remove all these things like trailing whitespaces. Or for example, this one, final new line is missing. So I'm not sure why exactly we need a final new line. So I would just also include this. And yeah, this is how we do this. And this way we can look at all the errors, all the warnings that it outputs, and then we can decide if it makes sense to have these warnings or not. So for example, missing class docstring. This is also something I would ignore right now and put it like this. So that's how you do this with pylintrc file. There is an alternative though. Now many packages, including Pylint, use a different configuration file. It's called pyproject.toml. You can probably read about this here. This is a config file for Python projects, and many new libraries follow it. So the idea is that if you have a tool, you can put the configuration file for this tool to this pyproject.toml, and you don't have to have many different config files. So we will use this because the other tools we will use in this video, they also use this pyproject.toml, and we can move this configuration there. I will remove this link right now. Actually, not the syntax, the formatting is a little bit different. So what I'll do is I'll just Google pyproject.toml Pylint, and there should be an example here somewhere. So yeah, it's tool Pylint message control. So I'll just put it here, and then it's disable, and then it's a list like this where we can yeah, it's a little bit nicer, right? And then we can configure our Pylint here. So for example, let's see if we have any other warnings we want to suppress. For some reasons it's not picking it up. Maybe I need to run it one more time. now because we suppressed this no docstring, now it complains about other things. So it says that there are too few public methods in this class. So it's, I guess, just one. I would say we can suppress it too, or maybe we can suppress it just for this specific class. And if we want to do this for a specific class, I think this is how we do this: Pylint disable, and then it restricts the scope for Pylint warnings only to the class. So here we say, okay, yes, we know that this thing has a problem. It has too few public methods, but we did this on purpose and we want to ignore all the warnings from the linter about this. And yeah, let us check what other things we have here. So it says that missing model docstring. Yeah, I don't think we should care that much about docstrings right now. They are important if you're developing a library. For your own code, I think sometimes they are less important, especially for methods. It's good practice, but yeah, I don't want now to write for each function. I don't want to write a doc right now. Then yeah, so for example, this one, I don't use f strings. Okay, it's indeed a good idea to use an f string here, but do I want? Yeah, maybe let's actually do this. Maybe it will be better for readability. So what else do we have? Here, these things, trailing whitespaces, we will remove them with formatter. And then in lambda function, yeah, so it says that context is not, it's unused. Yes, I know we do not use it, but I am not really sure why we need context in general for lambda handlers. So I'll again say Pylint disable this one, unused arguments. Okay, so this is how you run Pylint from VS Code, and this is how you can disable things globally using this pyproject.toml file, and this is how you can disable some of the warnings locally. And the way you typically use Pylint is we run it in terminal when we want to make sure that our code is fine, it doesn't contain any warnings. So it could be something that we run even before committing code to Git. And yeah, so let me just quickly run this again. It's Pylint like that. And yeah, it outputs a bunch of warnings. And actually, if we look at the error code now, so the error code is 24, so it's not a zero error code. It means that if we run this as a part of CI/CD job, or if we run it before committing code to Git, this thing will actually fail. So this is an error. So it will be zero only if there are no warnings. Right, so we need to be, we want to make sure that all these things are solved, all these things are taken care of before we can push to Git, before we can deploy our projects. And yeah, so for some of these things, so for example, this argument name x doesn't conform to snake case naming style. This is true, it doesn't, but in machine learning, I think it's pretty common to use capital letters, capital X specifically, because this is like a matrix. I know it's not an ideal name, and is also not an ideal name. And again, it depends to the standards you want to set in your team. So if in your team you want names to be, if you don't want to have these names like this, then it's fine to keep it. But if you say that, okay, this is just a convention that we always use X for a feature matrix, then perhaps you can just ignore this warning or disable it. There could be other things that we want to disable. So for example, I don't know, maybe for tests, these too few public methods. This is for a mock that we have. So maybe for test, we can ignore it for the entire script. Or you know what, actually, I think it makes sense for this particular project just to disable it globally. We go to model, I can just remove it from here. So what else is here? Line too long. Yeah, for this line too long, first let's go to this model test, right? So the line is too long, indeed, it is long, but simply because this is the nature of our data. Of course, we can perhaps do something like this, but then it becomes like a long line, it's pretty annoying. Or alternatively, we can put this to a separate file, to an external file, for example, data, I don't know, base 64, and then we can take this and we can put the data here, and maybe we can read it out, create a method, read text, then file with open file read text as f in, you return f in read. And then also maybe, like I don't know, there could be some whitespace characters. Let's strip it as well. And then we can say that we just want to read it from data b64. This will be our data, and then this way we deal with this warning, right? It's no longer long. And we can similarly fix this one here. So we can just put it here. Kind of fix this. We have another warning. So what does it say? Yeah, that's actually a good one. So on Linux, it works fine. So on Linux by default, it will be use UTF, but on Windows, it can be problematic. So we need to specify encoding here, UTF-8. Right. So with Pylint, we were able to catch an error right now. What does it not like here? Yeah, trailing ways. All these white spaces we will deal with later. But now let me make sure that tests still run. I think here the problem is that it's not looking for the file in the folder of the script. So we need to somehow know what is the path where the script is located and then open the file within this path. So I can quickly Google it. Python location of current file. And so this is what we need. I will just use this one, pathlib. Script directory, or maybe it's actually test directory. And then, yeah, I don't know, I don't think we need this resolve, and I can just use test directory file. So this is because this is a thing from pathlib. Actually, I usually do from pathlib import path. I like this more. And yeah, because I use this pathlib, then I can say that testlib/file without putting this in a string. Let me try running it. Weird, it still can't find it. That's really strange. So maybe I made a mistake. Data p64. Yeah, I have a mistake here. So it should be data, not date. So do I have this mistake here as well? Yes, I do. So let me rerun it. Is it still failing? Yeah, now everything is fine. So yeah, I think it's actually a good practice for these long things to put them as separate files, so they kind of don't take too much space in the code. Okay, so what are the other warnings that we have? Let me take a look. So the whitespace import, trailing whitespace import, whitespace line too long. I think this is again the same thing as we had, line too long. Maybe for integration tests, like I don't want to do the same thing again with this base 64 decoding. So what I'll just do is pylint disable and then line too long. And then I'll do the same thing for test kinesis. Like ideally, we should also put this into perhaps we should put this thing into a separate, you know what, I can actually do this right now. So I can do this. I will create event.json. I will put this thing here, and I will open this with open event.json. Again, reading text, encoding UTF-8 as fin. So we do JSON load fin. Now we load the event from this file. Let me do the same thing here. Or actually, yeah, we don't do this here. So here something is different. So there is a different problem here. So yeah, it's just Docker. It's just the problem is just with Docker, the Docker test. Sorry. Okay, hopefully we resolve it. And then again, trailing white spaces, similar lines in two files. Yeah, it is kind of true. I don't know if I want to change it right now or not. So let me just run it one more time. Yeah, I will just for now ignore this. So I'll do this pylint disable, and I'll put it here as well. So I don't really want to refactor this to separate, like again, put this to JSON file. I think you got the idea how we can do this. So let me run it one more time. So I'm not doing anything with these wordings because we will fix them later with a formatter. And these imports also, we will use a special tool for that orders imports. And yeah, so the rest of the things that Pylint warns us about now are about formatting. So let's take a look at another tool that is called Black that can take care of formatting our code and making it look nicer. So for that, we'll do again pip env install dev Black. And actually, let me install another tool with Black together. So Black will take care of formatting, and another tool called iSort will take care of imports. So it's a tool that specifically is used for sorting imports. So imports is, you see the warning here that we should not mix standard import John should be placed before import bottom3. So what it wants us to do is something like this. And iSort is doing exactly that. So we don't need to worry about fixing this manually. iSort will fix it for us. So let me install it. Yeah, so we have these things here. And yeah, so let's start with Black. So Black is a code formatter. Let me first commit everything because Black and iSort, they change the content of the files. So I want to first make sure I commit. So in case something happens, we can easily roll back the files. So I'll commit all these things. So I'll do git add. And then all these things are here. So I can just do git commit. What did we do? We added linting, right? Added linting and fixed some of the issues. Now it's committed, and now we can experiment with our source files. We can apply Black to these source files without worrying that we will not be able to undo things. So let me do Black first help perhaps. So it shows us what we can do with Black. And the interesting thing for us is this one. Don't write the files back, just output diff for each file. So I will use this. I'll do Black diff and then current folder. Okay, that was like I should use less to be able to see what's going on. So now it shows us what it's doing. So the first thing it will change is it will replace single quotes to double quotes. I do not like it very much, to be honest, so I prefer single quotes. And Black is very opinionated about this. So there is actually a GitHub issue that says, hey, give us an option to include single quotes. And there was a long discussion, and then the maintainer at the end, no, it will not happen, and he just closed this. But there is a workaround. So instead of making us use double quotes, we can just say, hey, don't touch quotes at all. So that's one thing we will do. I will add this later. Let us go through the file. So this thing, it made everything one line, which maybe is fine. And one trick here is we can just add a comma here, and then Black will not touch it. So if it's a multi-line thing and there is a comma at the end, Black will see and it will not touch it. So okay, what happens with this one? So I think I'm not sure exactly what it's doing here. Perhaps it's removing some white space. Here perhaps too. And then yeah, there are quotes. The same thing here. So I would prefer to actually keep it like this, right? Multi-line. This is I think this is a test, right? So this is test docker. So I would actually just go here and put a comma here. And then in Kinesis, do we have anything like this? Yeah, maybe comma here. So you see we already have a comma here. Here, comma. Yeah, and let me run it one more time. Yeah, before I run it one more time, actually, let me check help again. So in help, there is an option to, yeah, this one. Don't normalize string quotes or prefixes. So let's use that because I don't want it to remove my single quotes. Yeah, so now it keeps the quotes. Yeah, I think it just output is messed up a bit, but what it's trying to tell us is So because these two were connected, so we first had a square bracket. Let me show you. So yeah, this is how we have it, and it kind of splits this into two lines, which I guess is fine. And then what else? It also likes to add trailing commas for some reasons. I am not against this. And here we didn't add a comma, that's why it did this. We can also set up the max length. So for example, if it's I don't know, 80 symbols, then it will not try to make it one line. But the simplest thing, like if you want to keep it like this, you just add a comma there. And if you don't, Black will add it anyways. What else we have? This is again the same thing. I'm not so sure what to change here, probably whitespace. Yeah, another thing, so here the parentheses I used, they are not really needed, so Black removed it. It removed tab here, I think. Yeah, so this is how it looks like. So let us just apply this. And yeah, like we did with Pylint, we can actually put this thing, skip string normalization to pyproject.toml, this one. And let me quickly look it up. Black pyproject.toml. So they have like some configuration here. I think it's Black configuration. The basics. Do we have configuration here? Yeah, this one. So pyproject.toml, and yeah, this is an example. Tool Black, target version include. Yeah, this is what I want to copy. So let's say target length is 80, target version is 3.9, and one thing we want to add is this skip string normalization, which is true. So now we can run Black without any parameters. So let me just check how it looks like. Yeah, so if I restrict the line size to 80, then it makes these multiple lines. So maybe 80 is too little. So let me put back 88. And yeah, this is how it looks like. It doesn't mess with the quotes, and it makes the code nicer. So we can just apply it. So now if I do Black dot, now it will apply these things. Now I can do git diff. First git status. We can see that, yeah, I changed something, and I can do git diff model.py, for example, to see what are the actual changes. And yeah, I forgot to add a comma here. That's why. Yeah, but that's fine. And now if we run Pylint, then we should have fewer problems. Okay, yeah, so now we only have problems with imports, right? Because Black fixed all our formatting problems. Yeah, so now let's see how we can fix the import problems. iSort is the tool for using this, so let's look at the help. And I think for iSort we also have something like diff. Yeah, I don't see it here. Let me just try iSort diff dot. And I need to do less, and then it shows what it will do. So it will put base 64 here, it will move it, and it will do some sorting. So at first base 64, JSON, then OS, and then bota 3. And it will do the same thing here. It will rearrange it, and first it does just imports and then named imports from print import print, right? So first it keeps this kind of imports and then these ones. Yeah, I do not, to be honest, I don't like this style of importing. So let me open this model. So usually I try to, let me just fix this quickly. So usually the way I sort this is by size. So first I have like small ones, like OS, then JSON, then base 64. So for example, sys would go here, just because it's smaller. I don't know if it's actually like a convention or not, if many people follow this, but I just typically do it this way. So let me undo everything. Yeah. But luckily for people like me, there is an option in iSort specifically for this. If I now look iSort config, and again, iSort also works with pyproject.toml, then this is how we configure it. So we just add another tool here. And profile, yeah, I don't know like what kind of profile is that, like black, this black profile. I don't care. What I care about is parameters that iSort has. So I'll just do iSort length sort. Yeah, I was on this page, but somehow I didn't find it. Okay, and then I just put it here through. This is how it should look like. So let me again run this diff. Yeah, I think the problem could be with this profile black. Let me just remove it and test one more time. Oh, yeah, now it's good. So now this is the kind of sorting I want to have. And let me just apply it. So now, yeah, it applied this to all the Python files it found. So I can do git diff model.py and see all the changes. So this one was done by iSort and this one was done by black. Okay, and the good thing about this that it all can be done automatically. So we can just run all this formatting before we commit something, or we can run this as a part of our CI/CD, and we can first run formatting, then we can run sorting, and then we can run tests to make sure that everything works, and then we can also run linting to make sure that the code is fine. Something like this. So for example, it could be, let me just type it here. So iSort dot, then we do black dot, then we do Pylint recursive y, and then we do pytest tests, and we do this in this order. So let me just apply it. So you see this is actually output of Pylint, right? So there are no problems with the code, and all the tests pass. So now our code is good. I will just commit this code. In the next video, I want to talk about makefiles as a way to simplify these things. And I also want to talk about pre-commit hooks, things that we can run before pushing something to Git. So yeah, see you soon.